Live pictures coming to us tonight out of KwaNongoma. As you saw, Amabuto paying their own tributes to the king. Our reporters also out on the ground. Bonga Dlulane, you are close to where some of these events are happening, Bonga. You know, I've been thinking about it throughout the afternoon, just watching the visuals of hundreds of people descending onto the streets of KwaNongoma. There was no other way that the story was going to play itself out, despite the calls for people to stay home, to not come to the Royal Palace. I suppose this was inevitable, really.
Yes, Kathy, good evening. It was inevitable. I remember saying to the mayor that you must now work basically by trying to maintain numbers because people are going to come. I mean, Kathy, this is a monarch who's been on the throne for 50 years this year, and the kind of love he has. I mean, walking on these streets myself as a reporter, I could just feel the kind of devotion they had for him, the love they have for him. They see him as a father figure, not only because he's a king, but because of what they describe as his legacies, what he's done for them here at KwaNongoma. But I'm not going to speak by myself. I'm going to ask these young people next to me, Kathy, why exactly they're here today. Thank you for joining me. Nilapha namhlanje nizo baba isilo. Khanixele isilo kuwe. What did it mean?
Igama lami ngiyanda ngomncango. Ngilapha for ukuthi nje ngizovalela isilo. Sibhlungu kakhulu ngokuthi isilo sishile emhlabeni, kodwa ke sithi nje asihambe kahle, silale ngokuthula. Sithi kuyohleze balekile kuthina. Sacela futhi ukuthi umhlanga kungapheli, kube khona kube lokhu khona ngoba ilapha thina sithola khona injabulo. Uba yede ke ahambe kahle, ahambe ngokuthula. Rest in peace.
Okay, so one last one, Kathy, another one here, and the gentleman next to me. When I put in Namhlanje, KwaKhethomthandayo Royal Palace. Xa ucinga isilo ucinga kanjani?
Hayi mina igama lami uDuduza Mthetho. Isilo mfowethu kithi sibaleka kakhulu. Sisenzela okuhle, silethe sikhombisa intombi umkhosi omhlanga, nathi nazinsizwa umkhosi weshwama, amawutho wethu ngakho lokulandela kwakho wethu. Siphatha kabuhlungu hamba wesilo.
Okay. As you can get, I'm just going to translate a bit for you. They're basically saying they came here because the king meant a lot to them. The king has done so much for them, particularly young men and young women. And they decided to come through because they want to pay their respects, because they'll never get a chance like this again. So basically, that is why they've been here at the palace at KwaKhethomthandayo to ensure that the king, when he's bowing out, he's given the proper send-off. And they, as subjects of KwaNongoma, and also as his subjects too, they want to be part of that history. Kathy?
All right, Bonga, there are lots of questions, of course, about what happens tonight, particularly when it comes to the burial ceremony that is expected to take place overnight. Tell us about what we've been told about it, at least over the last couple of days, from the traditional Prime Minister, Prince Buthelezi.
So the internment, Kathy, will go on from midnight tonight until the early hours of tomorrow morning. That's Thursday. And also it will be done by, people who, men only, respected members of the royal family, and also Amabuto are also being charged in that situation. Will not be allowed, obviously, Kathy, as cameras already were told there when they're going inside that marquee that cameras need to be switched off because there are certain practices that cannot be captured live on television. There are certain rites in the Zulu tradition that need to be kept secret still. And so that process also is something we're expecting to happen. But again, media, will not be allowed inside that procession. And we do know that process is expected to go on to the early hours of this morning. As you know, with any royal, especially a king, you won't know where exactly he will be interned into, or buried rather, because that something is still kept a secret. The public never knows where the grave of the king is. But in terms of this, the modern age now, Kathy, so a lot of people are interested. So media will be allowed to cover the memorial service in the morning that's happening, with President Cyril Ramaphosa expected to make a few words there. But the processes that happen tonight from after like 10 o'clock, 11 and 12 will be closely guarded. Amabuto are in charge of the procession, and also the royal family. And as the Prime Minister of Mazulu, Prince Buthelezi, had said, it has to be done right. The king has left explicit instructions that his burial must be done according to Zulu traditions and rituals. So those situations are expected to be adhered to, Kathy. So the interesting thing is how long it will take, we also don't know, but the Prime Minister Buthelezi had said that it will go into the early hours of the morning. So that could be between anything from midnight to 3 a.m. in the morning. Remember that. And also in the morning at 9, that's when now the memorial service will start. President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to come through and also deliver a few words in that memorial service. So now, as the skies now darken, because it's at night, Kathy, the rain has subsided a little bit, but it is still time for where things will be done, the rituals will be done. Unfortunately, as the media, we understand also and respect cultures do things differently. We're not allowed to cover some of those processes, and they've asked us to switch off their cameras, particularly when we come closer to the gate, the marquee that's here. So we'll be standing by just in bits around the castle, because we are allowed to be here next to the palace, just as in case we don't go to the places that have been mentioned where those rituals will be taking place. Kathy?
All right, that is our reporter Bonga Dlulane out. He's of course outside the Royal Palace tonight. I want us just to take a look at some of these visuals. He spoke about a tent, and inside it, Amabuto, as you are seeing here in this picture. Let's just stay a bit with these sounds as they pay tribute tonight to their late king.